Thank you. We're back here, Fresno Forward. We're joined by local attorney Michael Mitchell. He's a former public defender, member of Central California Appellate Panel, counsel to 2 national criminal law firms, and a member of the California DUI Lawyer Associates. After reading his blog, it's obvious that you take every case seriously, and it's not just about winning the case, but holding the government accountable. So we appreciate that, and that's why we have you on the show here tonight.
Oh, thank you. I would just correct one thing, that I
Yes.
work for the alternate public defender office, which was Barker and Associates.
Okay, great. Cool. Now, we've got a lot of DUI checkpoints that are happening. It seems to be just all over the news, and that's what we hear about every day. And what patterns are police looking for when they're searching out intoxicated drivers on the road?
Well, it depends. At a checkpoint, they're pretty much doing a car-by-car check of each person who's on the road to see if that person is actually intoxicated or not, and whether they need to actually have them step out, do tests, field sobriety tests,
Right.
chemical tests, etc.
And when a police officer pulls me over, I roll down the window, and he says, Mr. Tatum, have you been drinking tonight? How do I answer him at that point? What's proper?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the common questions I get is, what should I say in response to the officer coming up to the window and questioning me? And I hate to say it depends, but it depends. If you've had just like half a beer and you're confident that you're not under the limit whatsoever, then there's every bit of your advantage to cooperate with the officer at that point.
Right.
However, if you feel that there's any doubt that you may have had too much to drink, then my recommendation at that point is to assert your right to remain silent and tell him politely that you will not answer any further questions, and that's what you're doing, is you're going to remain silent.
Okay. Won't some officers let me go if I establish a good rapport with them, even if I have been drinking?
That's also what a lot of people think, is that, hey, if I chum it up with this officer, if I talk to him, I could just explain my way out of the situation.
Make a joke or two.
And occasionally that happens, but by and large these days, especially as DUIs have become even more political than ever, officers aren't even letting other officers out of a DUI, much less the average citizen.
Other officers are getting DUIs?
It happens once in a while.
Oh, shocking. Shocking. Do I have a right to an attorney when taking a field sobriety test? Like if they ask me to step out of the vehicle, can I be like, hold on, let me call Mike Mitchell real quick?
Contrary to what most people think as far as what you're allowed to ask for at that point you're not allowed to ask for an attorney to assist you during the chemical test, to be there to advise you about the field sobriety test. And the law actually states that that's something that the officer is supposed to advise you about when telling you about the chemical test. As a matter of fact, it's on the back of their form from DMV, is that they have to admonish you that you do not have the right to an attorney prior to taking the chemical test.
Do I have a right to refuse a chemical test? Can I just say no? I don't want to do this?
You have the option of doing that. It's not a very good option. The reason is, in California, what they do here is they'll force blood draw somebody if they refuse to take a chemical test, which results in them getting the evidence anyway, but then also results in you having an additional charge both in the court as an enhancement on top of the DUI, and the potential of losing your driver's license for a year without the potential of a restricted license. So it's not something I advise people to do, is to try to refuse the chemical test.
Okay. When a police officer asks you to follow a pen light for your vision, what is he actually looking for during that?
Well, that test is known as the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, and what they're looking for is an involuntary jerking of the eyeball, similar to a marble rolling across a piece of sandpaper and actually jerking. So they're looking to see if your eye jerks as you follow the finger. That's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it. However, once again, that's a field sobriety test, which is not obligatory. You can refuse that test. You can turn it down and say, look, I don't want to do the field sobriety test. Just give me the chemical test. That's it.
Okay. Does the officer have to advise me about anything before he gets into the chemical test? Is there, what can I choose between a urine test or a blood test if I'm going to do one?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which one is the best one to go with?
Absolutely. You have a choice of tests under California law. So if the officer suspects alcohol and tells you he suspects alcohol, then you have a choice of doing a breath or a blood test. If he suspects drugs, then you have a choice of a blood or a urine test. Now, in a normal alcohol-related case, generally the breathalyzer is less reliable than a blood test. However, you can't retest a breath sample, whereas you can actually retest blood samples, and sometimes the blood sample comes back lower, as it did the other day in a case I had.
Okay, awesome. What gives police the authorization to set up these random DUI checkpoints that are happening all over California?
Well, unfortunately, these checkpoints in our country are kind of like Gestapo-like checkpoints that you would expect in some place like Nazi Germany or the Soviet
Give me your
Union.
papers. Let me see your papers.
Exactly. That's the way it is. And unfortunately, our Supreme Court didn't have the backbone to turn down and refuse states doing these type of tests. And in a case called Delaware versus Prus, they authorized and sanctioned these tests. And then another case in California also adopted these checkpoints. And however, they gave a laundry list of criteria that the officers have to stick to for the checkpoint to be valid.
Okay. So they are following procedures that have been set up for how many cars they stop within a checkpoint then?
Well, what it has to be is a neutral formula. So they have to either check every car or every third car, something like that. It has to be a neutral formula, every 5 cars, etc. The officer at the checkpoint, the line officer, that's one of the factors that's listed in the California case. He can't have any discretion to just say, hey, this guy looks weird, this guy looks strange, I'm going to stop this guy and let everybody else go.
All right. Do you know of any new laws that are coming about for DUIs? I know there's always something, it seems like an escalation on a previous law that comes around every year. Is there anything that people should know about that's changing?
As a matter of fact, there is. We have a pretty draconian law that's coming out January 1st of 2012. Arnold Schwarzenegger actually signed off on it. It's going to come about, which is on a third or fourth DUI, or any DUI more than a third, you're facing up to a 10-year license suspension now, 10 years, an entire decade.
Wow.
And you're allowed to have a restricted license after 5 years as long as you have the ignition interlock installed and you're attending a DUI course. But it puts the discretion in the hands of the judge to go up to 10 years. It's really horrendous.
Are you seeing any correlation with DUI cases that you've had overturned? Are you seeing like something that officers are making mistakes on? Are you seeing people being more aware of their rights? Are you seeing people not drinking and driving because of these laws? I mean, is it helping the community? What's happening with the checkpoints?
Well, I think as these laws become more and more tough, people are starting to take heed and follow these laws a little bit more. For instance, you just reported on a story in Bakersfield where they stopped 2,200 cars and only came up with 5 DUI drivers.
Right.
And I can't imagine that wasn't for looking. Mm-hmm. So it's obviously getting the point out, that if you get a DUI, you're going to have some serious ramifications attached to it.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people are probably listening to that, and there's less DUI drivers on the road, no doubt, because of these harsh laws. But unfortunately, these laws, especially in this economy, where you're stripping people of their license for a long period of time, are just putting more people in a situation where they can't get out of the hole economically. They can't provide for their family. So in that way, it's really harsh on the overall economy as well.
Is there anything else that you feel is pertinent that needs to be talked about here on the air?
I'd just say that, one of the things people wonder about when they get a DUI is, should I go out and hire an attorney? Should I look for a DUI attorney? Should I fight this DUI? And what I tell people is, what we do is we offer the chance, at least at our office, to try to avoid some of these harsh consequences and give people a fighting chance to avoid that conviction or avoid that suspension so that it doesn't ruin their life, it doesn't cost them their job, it doesn't cost them their freedom of travel. So that's what we're there for.
Great. All right. Well, Michael Mitchell here, FresnoCriminalLawAttorney.com is his website. You've also got a blog, too, as I understand. You report, some details on cases that have gone by that you've learned something. Maybe people, if they have questions, they can check out the blog and have them answered I know that if I ever had a problem, I would definitely go this route because he cares about the system, he cares about the people he represents, and he cares about the system in general. So I think that's important. How do people contact you? What's the best way that you prefer?
You can reach us at our office, which is 559-222-2424, or through our website, as you mentioned, FresnoCriminalLawAttorney.com, or DUICentralValley.com as well.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice to
Mike.
meet you, Brock.
All right, appreciate it. Fresno Forward, we'll be back in a minute. We've got Dennis Payton, architect and engineer for 9/11 Truth, and Sam Cheney, leader of We Are Change Fresno, going to be on. Thank you.